I mean, if I look at everything since October 10th, because that was the biggest liquidation in the history of crypto, like bigger than FTX.
Like a margin call almost.
Yeah, it was like almost a miniature rupture, like a tsunami. We're only a couple weeks from that, so I think the market is consolidating. But if I look at fundamentals, like Ethereum, stablecoin volumes have been exploding, application revenues at all-time highs. So right now, fundamentals are leading price in crypto. So I think eventually we consolidate and then we rally into year end.
Is there 150?
Yeah, I think we can still get to 150, 200 for Bitcoin, and then something like 7,000 for Ethereum.
This is something that I think has a lot more legs. 62,000 before we get a crypto-friendly administration. That's Bitcoin, of course. Now we're over 100,000. So I think the sky is really the limit. I mean, when some of these guys put out predictions like 200,000, 500,000, 13 million in the case of Michael Saylor, I think, some of those numbers are astronomically high, but some of them are achievable because we've never had this support before.
Sure.
We got to 62,000 on Bitcoin, 72 really, I guess, before we had any support. And now you've got real support, perhaps even a strategic coin reserve, if you will. So I think Bitcoin probably triples from here under this president. And I don't mean by January, but I mean over these 4 years. I think it's going to just keep going.
I only care about one thing. Will we be number one in crypto? Crypto has turned out, and in that sense, I've been right. Crypto's turned out to be a massive industry, if you want to call it that. And I'm very proud to say that we are far and away ahead of China and everybody else. Now, China's getting into it very big right now. If you want to go after people, you're going to kill that industry, and it'll be very bad. I want to make crypto great for America. That's the only thing. I don't want to have somebody else have crypto and have China be number one in the world in crypto. Because in crypto, it's a kind of an industry where basically you're going to have number one and you're not going to have a number two. And right now we're number one by a long shot. I want to keep it that way. The same way we're number one with AI, we're number one with crypto. And I want to keep it that way.
Every possible thing to everyone listening that you would want for Bitcoin is happening right now, meaning the government is supporting things. The financial guardrails are shifting. We've got news after news every single day about the financial guardrails becoming more digital economy. It's things that are necessary for the network effects to kick in. All of that has happened. We still see inflows from retail. We still see the banks now opening it up for people to go through.
We think there's a good chance that central banks and sovereign wealth funds will start to get more aggressive in adopting Bitcoin, not only as a store of value, but also as a medium exchange. So this year, the Czech Republic, the governor of the central bank there, has initiated a study to analyze Bitcoin for inclusion in their central bank reserves. And then just this week, Russia did a trade with China, partially denominated in Bitcoin, beginning to really use Bitcoin for the first time as a medium of exchange. And that's not for individuals buying coffee, that's for large-scale transactions where countries are using Bitcoin as an intermediary currency to do, say, an oil trade. And in that scenario where Bitcoin-denominated trade could be, say, 5% of global trade, we get to a $3 million price per Bitcoin. That's a long-term prediction. I
think the one people are really interested in would be the next El Salvador. El Salvador was an outlier. I think we may get a surprise this coming year, hopefully, but we're going to see mining adoption is ever increasing. That is at the nation state level, that's happening all the time. It's happening in secret, happening in open. And the next one that's people talking about right now is strategic reserves, so SOV, store of value. That is already happening behind closed doors, or it will start to happen in the open. When it starts to happen in the open, then that's when the old game theoretic ripple effects of it will start to take off.
Folks, it's happening. We're being left behind. There's a global boom in the trade in digital assets, in the use of stablecoins, in the usage and investment in all forms of cryptocurrency. We've literally turned our backs on it, both the Bank of England and the FCA being guilty of this. The reason the city succeeded for hundreds of years is that it innovated, it took risk, it saw what the future direction of markets and consumer and customer and commercial demand would be. And we have done absolutely none of it. And frankly, I believe it's a disaster. We should be leading the world.
And now that the United States is open to this idea, I think it would be impossible to suggest that other countries are not going to do the same thing. And I'm sitting here today in December of 2024. I'll make a prediction here that by this time next year, the Chinese will be back in the Bitcoin game. They're probably going to add it to their reserve assets, and they're going to probably allow for people to mine it legally. I mean, it's ironic 10% of the mining is still happening in China, despite the fact that the Chinese Communist Party has disallowed it. But you're going to see this opening. It's almost like a match sailing race. You're not going to be in a position in the world in developing economies where the U.S. is moving towards Bitcoin and you're not moving towards Bitcoin.
Well, there are two technologies that I guess are relatively new, and so there's a lot of fear of them. And I think people don't necessarily know that much about them. They don't really know what to make of them. I think that from a policy standpoint, and we can talk about the similarities and differences, the approaches are a little different. I think with crypto, the main thing that's needed is regulatory certainty. You know, all the entrepreneurs I've talked to over the years, they all say the same thing, which is just tell us what the rules are. We're happy to comply, but people, Washington won't tell us what they are. And in fact, during the Biden years, you had an SEC chairman who took an approach, which I guess has been called regulation through enforcement, which basically means you just get prosecuted. They don't tell you what the rules are. You just basically get indicted. And then everyone else is supposed to divine what the rules are as you get prosecuted and fined and imprisoned. So that was the approach for several years. And, and as a result of that, basically the whole crypto industry was in the process of moving offshore. And America, I think, was being deprived of this industry of the future